Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo. It's so delightful to be joined with you here today. We're joined by a very special guest who made this incredible documentary, Joseph, Margaret, and I. Valerie, lovely to see you here today.
Oh, it's nice to be here.
Thank you very much. And for those that haven't seen the film, let's take a look at the clip.
It's not a mistake, right? Because you keep doing this.
So you're not prepared to forgive me?
No.
No? Well, Valerie, I'm sorry.
Joe, honestly, please.
This, I can't kneel down with this
I know,
one.
but I like my personal space. You're too close to me.
Yeah?
I think we're done.
Valerie, I'm so delighted to be with you today, and I'm sorry that we cannot meet in person, but I'm glad we have this opportunity together. Thank you so much for making your documentary. I've got so many questions and feelings, and I'm so glad that you made it. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
So, very briefly, my film Joseph, Margaret, and I is about it was originally supposed to be about my parents' migration journey from Ghana to Canada and focused on a little bit about their mental health. But through the production process, it turned into be a story about healing and forgiveness, mainly between my dad and I, and, just discussing the effects of his alcohol abuse and also understanding the effects that it had on like myself, my sisters, and also him, and also briefly talking about just a very common issue in the Ghanaian community. Like my story is not specific to me. Unfortunately, like many Ghanaians, especially ones that travel from Ghana to Canada, suffer with this. So essentially, it's about healing, forgiveness from myself, my dad, and my mom.
I felt like I was there with you in the room. It felt like I was a member of your family, the way that you filmed it. And wow, like I've been very fortunate in my life to have back in London, where I'm from, to be surrounded by amazing people from Ghana. And I've always thought to myself, to my friends that have moved, and thought, wow, it's such a massive change to have to move, from a different part of the world, and adapt to a new place, a new culture, new everything. And you can't underestimate that. And I'm so glad for that reason that you made it, to sort of really help people understand. Was that part of your goal as well? Because I don't think people realize when you move to a different country just how significant that actually is.
Yeah, that was part of my goal, and as I mentioned, my main goal. And then during the production process, the moment that that scene that my film begins with actually was not in my treatment. I did not write myself in at all. That was literally the magic, I guess, of documentary and having things unfold right in front of you. I was just ready to ask the questions to get the shots we need. And then there was one point where I was getting emotional by the questions that were being asked, and I asked like the crew to take a step away. And then when I came back, my producer, Fona, who's really amazing, was like, "Oh, like I think you should. I want to interview with your dad," and that's how that moment happened. So I think it's a really important topic to discuss, mainly in like Toronto. Like it's so diverse. There's so many people from like all over. Like there's little different communities in Toronto, and this is a subject that's kind of taboo in the Black community. Especially in the Ghanaian community. So I wanted to, use my family, I guess, as a way to like open my vulnerability and get people to just speak about things that hurt us and things that we're dealing with in our home and within our families and communities.
Again, I love you. I fell in love with your family, and just how you are, and the support you have of each other. It was so beautiful to see. Now, it's making a documentary is one thing. Making it about your own family and experiences that you've gone through is a whole nother level. When was the moment for you as a filmmaker when you thought, I want to make this story? And how did you approach your family with that as well?
So the moment I decided to make this story, as I mentioned, the original plan and treatment was to focus mainly on my mom and dad and their relationship. And my dad, and also their mental health, right, and how they kind of take care of it. And unfortunately, with my dad, it's through alcohol, and with my mom, it's through other things. So when I asked my mom, she was like, "Okay, like I'll support it. I'm there." And then when I asked my dad, he's like, "Yeah." And I feel like they're both doing favors for me instead of like really wanting to do it. They just knew how this important this was, and how bad I wanted to make this documentary. So it was funny because after we shot and showing my mom before COVID, I actually screened at the Toronto Film Fest and on
Yeah.
the big screen. So
Big deal.
like before that, I showed my mom in our home, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't know I was gonna be on camera." And I'm like, "Mommy, we had a whole production crew. What do you mean? You didn't know you're gonna be on camera." So she, at that point, she really wasn't. I don't know. It was hard to read her, right? And then after my first the screening in Toronto, like she was actually crying, and I think the whole process was healing for her, because even during our interview, it was interesting because she was speaking in Tree, obviously, and only me and her understood. And in the room, you could feel like, first of all, she was a lot of things that we experienced, she was letting it out. And I never heard my mom speak so openly about it. And it was also interesting because I was the only one who understood her, but the other crew members, like they just felt the heaviness in the room, and like they just felt the emotion in the room. So
Yeah.
that's with my mom. And my dad, to be honest, has not seen it. He chose not to, and I understand that. And I think he's nervous and anxious and worried about how he might come off to other people.
Yeah.
And then also like with my mom was like, "Oh, like are there Ghanaians going to watch?" She was kind of nervous of how like our story will be perceived by other people in the community, especially in Toronto, because the Ghanaian community is so small. But I think after the screening and she had people come up to her and like thank her for sharing her story, so she felt really good about that. So I think after that, like she was good about it.
And how did you feel? How did it feel for you? Did it feel kind of almost therapeutic for you as well?
um It did. It did it at first, and I feel like with speaking through my mentors, with like looking at my script and things like that. It's like everyone knew that that was really the story, and I didn't want that to be the story. I wanted the story what I wanted to be. So I was a little bit hesitant at first because like um, I'm not really vulnerable in that way until like only with people I know and that I feel safe with. So like crying in front of like a crew that, this is our first time shooting was kind of, it was, I can't explain it. It was healing a little bit, but also I'm like, okay, as a director, I shouldn't be crying on the set.
Oh no, you're allowed to. No, I mean, it's. I think you. I mean, I think it was emotional watching it from an audience perspective. I mean, I was emotional watching it because I know there was so much love for each other, and when each of you are going through experiences and pain, it's hard to kind of face certain things in your life. What was so amazing, as I actually said to you before we jumped on this interview, is that I what was fantastic is I think it's so great to feel what it was like for you. And I honestly and then I'm so glad that you made it, because I really think your film will help other people that may have something about your film that they connect with. And there's so many ways in which they could connect with your film. Is that something that you are, also hoping for your audience as well, is to kind of, what would you kind of want your audience to take from your film?
I wanted my audience to just see and feel the vulnerability through the film, and also like the forgiveness and healing, and understand it's not a linear process, right? Even though it looks a bit linear in the film, like we cry, like I'm mad at my dad, and then at the end we're just sitting down and we're just talking, like, you know what I mean? That's how I feel like that's how healing is. And then with your first question, it was just interesting because every part of the process I had someone just tell me like how much they connected with my film. As I was previously telling you, like my editor, who's this like white guy from the UK, and he was like talking to me about like how like he just felt emotional about my film, and how like he resonated with some of the issues because he had some problems. And also I had friends that just came up to me and had issues with their dad, and they just been opening up, and that's really what I wanted. And that's how I am as a filmmaker. I just feel like we need to start speaking about things that, you know, that hurt us, and things and feelings that we feel like by ourselves, and, you know, sometimes
Yeah.
we feel fucked up for no reason. And I like
Yeah.
dissecting those emotions and showing those emotions and talking about those stories. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just think there's so many people that will feel healing from watching your film, and if not healing, understanding,
Mm.
or educating. You know, there's so many different perspectives in there, I'm so glad that you made it. And one thing I noticed from the get-go, you said about you, when you're there sitting with your, you know, your dad, is how you kind of shot it. Like it was a lot of close-up experiences, and you know, it was, you know, you really took us right in there. How was it, you know, kind of shooting those kind of scenes where you know, you are really on the reaction of how you're all responding to each other? Did you kind of have, is there a certain way that you were looking to shoot it to kind of feel that, or is it something that you kind of discovered as you went along?
To be honest, it's something that I discovered as I went along.
Mhm.
I knew like I wanted the audience to feel like you're in the room with us,
Yeah,
experiencing what is happening, and like you're a part of the family. Like that's how I wanted the audience
yeah,
to experience my film. But it wasn't intentional in the beginning, so that's something I just learned as I go. And I wanted the close-ups, and I wanted like, for example, my mom's when my mom is in the kitchen, that's like her safe space, right? And I wanted the close-ups, and I wanted
yeah,
and I also want to show that like my culture and a little bit of my mom making the food, and the
yeah,
close-up of myself, like my hands and like my face, and also my dad and his eyes and things like that. I feel like it just connects more with the audience. And there's so much that's said with body language that, you know, you can't say with words sometimes. So I really wanted to get that across and focus on those shots.
yeah. I was getting hungry from that food. I was like, oh, it's like, this is, I want to be invited around to this house for some good food. That's what I was feeling. No, no, it was really quite amazing. What would you say? I mean, there must have been so many different things, maybe either in pre-production, during production, or after. What was the kind of biggest challenge you had in making it?
Um, okay, there's two major challenges, and I think the major challenge was just learning how to trust my team.
Yeah.
This was my first project where I was directing, and I direct obviously and wrote.
Hmm.
In my mind, prior to going into this, I thought the director was literally in charge of every little thing, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of is it OCD? I don't know what the word is, but like I just
You're
like
prepared. That's what it is.
yeah, okay, let's go with that. I just want everything to go smoothly, to be prepared.
Yeah.
But I learned to really just kind of let my team handle their job and not really try to micromanage. Not really micromanage, but like, but
Hmm.
micromanage. So
Hmm.
that was one of the main things I learned. And also like, one of the main things I learned is like, it's the story that we're servicing, right? It's not even about myself or about like my vision. It's usually what's best for the story. And I had to learn like through, especially through editing and post-production, is like what is best for the story. What are the best shots that move the story forward rather than the shots that I like, or sticking to the vision I wanted to. Like even, you know, they say like a story is made 3 times through pre-production, production, and post-production, and I literally seen that unfold with my film. So those are some of the takeaways I've gotten from this experience.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And listen, let me commend you. Your first directing, that's amazing. And that's, congratulations on that. Congratulations on your successes and having it up in Toronto as well. It's really astounding. It's hopefully should ignite you for the rest of your, you know, career moving forward. What has the experience been like? It's certainly been a pleasure to have you with us at New Filmmakers LA. What has your experience been like showing it to people at film festivals? And certainly we loved it at ours as well.
It's been a variety of emotions,
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
bet.
anxiety, a lot of like, oh my gosh, like I'm showing this very personal story, I'm showing myself on film, and also a lot of excitement, just getting to share my story with other people, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's been good. The film festivals have been great. I'm just learning so much and meeting so much people.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been good. It's been kind of yeah, it's been good, and also as well like I'm very introverted, so I like to keep to myself. So just speaking about my film, it's just a lot of practice, which is good. So explaining my vision and talking to people, and people are genuinely interested. They genuinely want to know, and I'm kind of surprised about that. Like they just genuinely want to know, like, how did you do this? And they're so interested in the story and the process behind it. So that's one thing that I didn't anticipate, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, well, I think you have some, I mean, anyone can have talent, but you've got such a wonderful aura, a modesty, which I think is, hopefully, gonna, leap you even higher and further because, it's very deserving and not everyone has that. So, credit to you, obviously, as a person. What is next for you?
So what is next for me is I'm working on a television series about Black millennials going through their quarter crisis and going through that messy era, which is the 20s, which I'm happy I'm slowly exiting out of that. Yeah, I think the 20s are an amazing and very scary, very transformative period in our lives where just a lot of things happen. Like we learn about ourselves and our place in society, and we learn about like the traumas that we didn't know we had and the healing that we need to do, and just so much things. And I haven't seen Black people go through their 20s on TV yet. And I'm just like, I would like
Yeah.
to create that and talk about mental health and things that, I know me and my friends are going through and stuff like that. So that is what's next for me.
Oh, I love that you're doing that because that you're absolutely right that there isn't enough Black millennials that are going through things where they're just being in their 20s, you know what I mean, and just going through everyday stuff.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. So I'm so glad that you're making that. I'm a big fan of your vision already. I can't wait to see how that unfolds in a TV series. It's going to be really very exciting. Now you've got this underway. My final question is to you is, so many people out there just don't know how to start, where to start, if they can do it, all those different things that filter through their head. Is there anything that you have learned, maybe something you've been told or something that you go by that you could maybe share with other filmmakers out there that want to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, so there's a few. I want to be like, okay, just do it like Nike, but I feel like that's so funny. But that's honestly it. It's just doing it. And I think the main thing is just really believing yourself and having the confidence. And that's literally half the battle. And with my journey, it took me a little longer to get started because when I was getting rejections, I was taking those very, very personally and allowed that to like hurt my confidence and hurt my self-esteem. But I feel like once you just believe in yourself and you build that confidence and you build that determination, like I'm going to get this done, like no one can stop you. And then your energy just changes and people want to help you and want to make your vision come true, right? So that's just one thing, just having a strong sense of self, confidence, and just knowing that like you're a badass and you could do it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Hashtag you're a badass and you can do it. There you go. Let's finish on that one. No, listen, Valerie, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you brought your film to us, and I really can't wait to see the next steps of your journey. But thank you very much for Joseph, Margaret, and I. Valerie, everybody, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.